Okay, we did current ratios and asset ratios to deal with, we call them liquidity ratios, and dealt with this firm's short-term liquidity. We would like to also take a look at the long-term liquidity and if the firm is over borrowed in a long-term format, because that will negatively affect profits, or it can actually help profits depending on if the firm's making money or losing money. That's the gearing ratio. Now, in North America or U.S., you may hear the term leverage. UK, it's the term is gearing. Does the same thing. You think a levered and geared, multiplies your power, and that's what loans can do in terms of your shareholder returns, because you're using someone else's money. So your profit applied to your own investment looks like it's much more powerful when you can borrow money. The only problem is when we have a loss, the opposite of that occurs. So we would like to know what levels we are geared or leveraged based on our loans. So we're going to take a look again. It's a long-term, long position look. So the formula is long-term liabilities or another term, loan capital over our capital employed. All right, so for using this problem, I want to cover what our total capital employed is. Our capital employed is going to be our share capital, our retained profits, and our long-term liability. This is the way this particular financial summary is presented. It's really not the proper form for a balance sheet. A balance sheet would have an added line at the bottom that would specifically say capital employed. But we'll add these numbers up: 1,000 plus 4,000 plus 4,800. And again, when I say 1,000, I mean a million, because we are once again using in pounds in thousands. So we're going to go ahead and write this out here. So our long-term liability in this problem is, and 9,800 is our capital employed. And we will multiply by 100. I'm going to put this in here because the answer, is a percentage. So working the calculation now. So what we come up with is 10.2%. So that means, what this means is of our capital employed, this pie represents our capital employed. I'm just going to estimate here, roughly 10% of that is loans or long-term debt. And again, these are long-term. And the remaining 90% represents our own equity, whether it's retained profits or share capital in the firm. So, the higher your gearing ratio is, the more potential you have for downside. If you have decreasing profits, your losses per share will look greater. Of course, conversely, the more you're geared, the greater your income per share will be when you're making profit. So that's a gearing ratio. It is both HL plus SL, so it's for both higher level and standard level, and that is how that particular ratio is calculated and used.